Blabbing for Britain, episode 75. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Steven.
And a message from Tish, and nice to see you as well, Tish. As we get underway, and we've just had a very interesting chat. I mean, you start Peter and Stephen talking, and that's it, as we know, and they'll be here shortly. That's good stuff. It's good stuff because it means that we can vent outside the confines of Blabbing for Britain. And I mean, although we'll talk politics on here, we don't have to go into depth. And say good morning to Corinda. And nice to join us. This show is a bit more relaxed than the. Just going to.
Do you have an opportunity to vote today, Stephen?
I have several opportunities. We're voting at 6 o'clock tonight. And you thought
local government where you are?
Yeah, it is local, and the county and local and the county council.
All right, we only have the mayoral vote today, and I've already cast mine.
Right.
And
okay,
this Liberal Democrat voted Conservative.
Well, that's it. In local elections, you vote for the person, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if your candidate's not there. To everybody who's watching on Facebook, if you say hello, we can see your comments. We have no agenda, and we've just got the odd photo, which we put together yesterday. And before Stephen gets here, I'm going to start with this particular photo, and you can just talk about it for a moment, if you would, while I get myself sorted.
Okay.
Well, how do you not be rude about her? That's the. It's all right, Corinne made me laugh.
Yeah.
It's National Prayer Week today.
We all need prayers at the moment, that's for sure.
She needs prayers, I think. I think she almost committed political suicide this week, didn't she? She certainly
She did. She didn't.
Anyway, this is supposed to be not about politics today, isn't it?
Oh, right.
How many policemen do you know would be happy with 20p an hour?
Wow. Yeah.
We can't ask Sergeant TCS.
No.
Because he's not going to be around today, so he's giving a talk on social media to Northumbria Police today in Newcastle.
Very good, very good. So what is the agenda today? We're not talking politics today then?
Well, you can talk politics if you like. I've voted already today, so...
yes, I can't get out until this afternoon to do it.
No, well, I find it easier to go early, yeah? You don't get any queues then. So, and it's in the local primary school.
Well, since you put a picture up, let's talk about Diane Abbott. She must be a cat. She must have 9 lives. I've never seen a woman. You watch every interview. Wow, she can avoid questions. And you know something? She's lucky that she used to be Jeremy's
politician. What more do you expect?
She was also Jeremy's girlfriend. That's another problem, I would think.
Why would anybody want to go out with her? But never mind.
But she has got one. I do admire her for a brass neck. She can sit out. She had to sit at an interview yesterday, watching what she had said on TV, and she just sat there and watched. And she come back and she says, "What was it?" She says, "I made a mistake," something like that.
Misspoke, wasn't it?
Misspoke, and would you really want her running your country, negotiating for you, in the way things are? Wow.
She's Labour's Boris, Peter. That's what she is.
Along with Comrade Jeremy.
But is it the office? I mean, because she's shadow foreign minister, isn't she? So
Home Secretary.
Oh, Home Secretary. I thought she must have been foreign secretary in the past then. So
well, I watched an interview on YouTube asking if she would press the button. I can't remember who it was, and he said, if you knew that, like somebody like North Korea had a missile pointed at us, and he said, in half an hour's time, I'm pushing that button. Would you push the button? And he could not even get a yes or no. In fact, it was Piers Morgan.
That question. Nobody's ever going to answer that question, specifically not truthfully, anyway, because it's all about the context. I mean, who's saying in this scenario you paint, Peter? Who's saying? Who is reporting? Who's translating Kim Jong-un's voice? How you're never going to make that decision. There was a piece on sorry, not a piece. And Yes, Prime Minister. Do you remember when we were lads? That was on.
Yes.
And there was the thing about would Jim Hacker ever push the button? And basically, unless there were Russians invading Liverpool Street Station, even then he wouldn't press the button. It's hilarious comedy, and
right.
And they should by now have worked out a proper response to that, you know. Mm-hmm. And again, that goes down to the questioning, doesn't it?
Do you think that should be a policy where they said they've all got to declare if they would push the button in times of threat?
Again, it's a definition. What is a threat? From what's the size of the threat?
So, if this is the case, do we need a nuclear weapon? If we're ever going to use the bloody thing,
it's the as Sir Humphrey said, it's the nuclear weapon that Harrods would sell, Prime Minister. Absolutely hilarious. But we know, frankly, that there is absolutely no point in just having. Is it 64 nuclear warheads we've got? I don't know what it is. If you've got one, I reckon that's one more than you need, actually, because it's just the sheer scale of the destruction that these things can do. It means that they won't be used again.
So do you just think we should put ours away and say, hey, listen, we're going to get rid of ours? And they said, oh, what time are you doing it? So we can take over. Who's
they? If it's Kim Jong-un.
Well, it could be terrorists.
Can't get us. He really can't reach us.
How do you know they've got submarines?
I don't think they have.
They have?
North Koreans haven't got submarines, mate.
Yes, they have.
Right, let's Google.
Don't Google at all. Sorry, John. I'll bring John back up in a minute. I'm not sure on that. I know that. I mean, the thing is that if we take North Korea as the area that we're talking about at the moment, of course they are developing nuclear technology and the rocket technology. And whether believe it or not, it was said last week they have one which can reach the west coast of the States. So, but
I've got to let you know that according to a report published by the BBC in 2010, the North Korean military is in possession of a fleet of about 70 submarines.
Oh, right. Okay.
The North Koreans?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Okay, and my apologies to John. I'm going to bring John back now while we're on the same topic.
There again, Pete, I mean, I guarantee you that our Navy would kick the you-know-what out of any approaching North Korean submarine. They would make it known that it is, 1,000 miles away. They'll know these things. So again, I just don't think. All right, would you press the button if the North Koreans? Would you, Pete, press the button if the North Koreans were 1,000 miles off of Cornwall?
What do you mean if they were? What do you mean by if they were?
Nuclear-powered submarine, or a submarine with a nuclear missile approaching the UK, and they're 1,000 miles away from Cornwall.
Well, before that, it came to that, they have told them we will hit that submarine
with nuclear weapons.
Well, not necessarily nuclear weapons, but said we're shadowing you, and we've got a torpedo ready to go right up your jacksie.
So they're now 20 miles. They're now 20 miles.
They wouldn't get that distance.
Because are you going to use a nuclear weapon, though?
If they threatened a nuclear weapon on them, there are smaller nuclear weapons that can hit them with.
Is the answer yes?
Yes,
It's the first strike.
If they're on a submarine, do you need the nuclear weapon?
Well, it's the question whether you do or you don't. Fire.
No.
First strike.
They do have 70 submarines, you're quite correct, but they only have 20 that are capable of long range.
Right, okay. Well, I've got to say the Royal Navy's probably stuck as well, because we don't even have an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, that's true.
So we don't have the same Navy that we've had. But I can understand King John. He's sitting there, the world hates him, and he's just saying, if they dare come to me, I'm building up my armaments, and there's no way they're taking over this country. I like my little thing here, and I'm just letting you know, I'm building it up, and I'll take you out one day if you try anything with me. And he's about the maddest enough to do it. Yeah, a man that can kill his own relatives the way we do. And he just doesn't execute them with a rifle. They actually use cannons to fire at them, big shells to make sure they're in bits.
That's true. That's allegedly true, isn't it?
Yeah, I just read a...
Mortar bombs, Pete. He uses mortar bombs on them.
That's right, okay. And if you read the stories of people who have escaped from North Korea, it would make you weep, you know. So but we need it as a deterrent, and just like God gave a lot of animals, like a snake has got, a lot of them have got their venom. The lion, you go near him, he'll rip you apart. And that's our form of defence, saying if you threaten us, we'll take you out.
Stephen, can you take me out for a minute? Because I've got to do me back.
Okay, no problem.
Right, yeah. Okay, means we're back. And, right, okay, so I don't know whether I'd actually fire the button. I think traditional defence, but we'll see. We don't have to do that. We just hope that President Trump doesn't.
Yeah, no,
we've not spoken about him for a while. How do you think he's... How do you think...
Just to say about the nuclear, if it was a submarine, you would need, if it was that near, you would just use a conventional weapon to knock it off.
Well, that's what I said. You don't need a nuclear weapon to get rid of a submarine.
Okay. Mr. Trump, yeah.
What do we think? It's just past its 100 days.
Of nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, John?
I said 100 days of nonsense.
Well, today is a very important day in healthcare in the US because they're going to vote or not to repeal Obamacare. Mm-hmm. And the new one that replaces it just has, you're not covered if you have certain preconditions. Yeah. One of which is being pregnant, which, we're fortunate in this country. We have healthcare which is free to all at the point of delivery, and that won't change. There isn't a government of any colour that would change that.
No,
they might privatise parts of it, but in general, the principle will stand, won't it?
Yeah. I don't know too much about their actual care of it, but I know a lot of them don't like it for some reason because their costs have went up with Obamacare, I believe, for the people that pay.
It's called Obamacare. It's actually the Affordable Care Act, which was brought in by President Obama, and then called Obamacare. And this current one is, what do you think this one's called? Okay, I'll tell you. It's called Trump Care.
Trump Care. That was a hard one. I'll tell you, and see if you don't take it out, do you know what you get? A $600 fine.
Yeah, that's...
A lot of people don't know that one either. But no, his first 100 days. Do you know what I liked? He breaks with tradition. He didn't go to the press dinner. And neither would I. I wouldn't go there for him to sit and slate you off all night. They don't back their president. They just want to bring him down. Come on, we're going to the annual, bring your lumberjack axes, let's chop him down as much as we can. I've never heard them praising that president for sitting there and signing executive orders right away, signing them up. Yeah? What other president's done that in the first 100 days? He never got them through because they gathered against him. Let's get back at President Trump. Let's stop him doing this. The world's changing, folks, and people are waking up.
Have you seen
not a free ride anymore?
Have you seen the keynote from the White House Correspondents' event?
Yeah.
Bernstein and Woodward, the guys who did for Nixon. They explain, Pete, why it's important that the press do what they do, and the crazy thing is that the satirists, the Comedy Central comedians, the late night show hosts, are the only real critical commentators, the media, on Trump. You recall that when Trump did his State of the Union, he spoke like an adult for about 45 minutes. The mainstream media said, my God, he seems presidential. And they were talking endlessly about, my God, he's actually a president. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but then you look at the sort of the reactions of the late night hosts and the comedians and that, and they're saying that once again the media have taken a swallow left hook, line and sinker. The fact that he managed to string a couple of hundred sentences together off of an auto cue, which he said he'd never use, and it just proved to me that the media over there and over here are hopeless, and they're not serving us. You said, Peter, you don't watch the BBC or ITV. You're more on YouTube and getting your information from there. And I'm with you, because people aren't held to account. That's the thing. They're not held to account. Trump isn't held to account by the mainstream media because he just calls them fake news. And it's only the comedians and these talk show hosts who hit home at all. And there was a Muslim lad who's a reporter, in quotes, for the Comedy Central late night show, and he did 20 minutes on Trump and just tore him apart. Yeah, and you would have. That's what would have made you, Pete, say this is disgraceful. What, he was so funny, and he got his points across so well. That Trump will hate it for sure. But
do you believe in free speech in America?
I believe that there is still free speech in America. Yes.
Right. Okay. Look at Berkeley. Look at Berkeley, California.
That's not actually a free speech. A free speech. I can't even say it. Free speech issue, because it was the way in which the police and the university authorities stopped people from protesting about the speech. The guy who, I can't remember who it was. Jon? Steven, sorry.
Steven.
Thanks. Breaking news, an announcement. We heard earlier today that all the staff from the various royal houses throughout UK were being brought down to Buckingham Palace for an announcement. And I can now read that announcement, which is not as, well, it actually reads, the Duke of Edinburgh is retiring from royal duties this autumn. Buckingham Palace has announced. The decision was made by Prince Philip himself and supported by the Queen. A palace spokesman said Prince Philip turns 96 next month. So that's basically why everybody's been summoned to the palace today, to be told that news and obviously to be thanked for their services. So earlier today, people were speculating that it would be something sadder than that, but that's reasonable. I mean, 96 is an age to take it a bit easier than anything.
He's done a marvellous job. Going age 96, doing his public duties, sometimes putting his foot in it. Chinese will be delighted. And he's done his bit for the country. Time for him to take a rest, I would think. A good rest.
I still think he could have sent an email and saved all the cost.
That's not. It's the personal touch, though. John's not. John is shaking his head. He's going to come.
Jon coming back to have a say.
Yeah, I think we ought to hear from Jon. Come on, Jon.
Yeah, you know that nuclear missile? You know it's targeted at Stoke-on-Trent. Get rid of all the Reds in Stoke-on-Trent.
Aye, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what to say to that. We are dead set centre between Manchester and Birmingham, by the way, so that might have something to do with it.
Mm-hmm. All right, okay.
What?
As well?
All the Manchester's thrown all of their Reds south, and Birmingham's thrown all the Reds north. That's why we have red Stoke-on-Trent, is it?
So what's your view, Jon, in the Prince Philip?
I'm a royalist. I support the royal family because I do believe we need a figurehead, and I personally don't believe the likes of Mr. Blair and all those other prime ministers we've had could ever be that kind of figurehead.
Mm.
I also believe that the cost of them is grossly exaggerated, and they bring a lot in. Fantastic amount of money comes in through tourism just to go and look at places like Buckingham Palace. Yeah.
And a lot of people are jealous that we've got heads of state like that. You know, they would love it for their country. And and
the Canadians have got the Queen. Australia's got the Queen as their head of state. It's why not? I just don't get it. I mean, she doesn't see.
Yeah, well, most Australians don't get it either. So I think that's something that won't continue for all that much longer. What you've got to remember is Australia is populated by people who've emigrated from here, whether they liked it or not. I.e., all the forefathers of Australia were basically criminals from the UK.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
You don't think the Aboriginals would have had a bit of a say in it? Weren't they there before?
But it's apartheid for many, 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 many years. It's not so bad today in Australia, but, apartheid, just like South Africa, was in Australia for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica,
how about a different topic altogether? I'm bored with politics. You know, you've got your bloody politics show. Talk your politics in your politics.
Yeah, okay, right. Let's bring up a subject.
I want to talk about a Radio 4 programme.
Mm-hmm.
Peter, oh my God, I've forgotten his surname, but blind gentleman who does a lot of programmes on Radio 4. And he went to interview a lady who's progressively lost her sight.
Right.
Who wouldn't leave the house because of her progressive loss of sight, and wanted a guide dog.
Mm-hmm.
But the Guide Dog Association will not give you a guide dog unless you've been out and about using a long cane.
Wow.
The interesting piece about the programme, though, that I want to talk about is not that. She got her guide dog after a while. Her children went out with her and got help to get used to the long cane. And the guide dog, funnily enough, her surname is Quinn, and the guide dog that she got was called Quinn. Just an incidental. But what I really picked up from the programme was that sometimes she's baking. She bakes regularly, and she can't find something. There's nobody in the house. What does she do? She gets onto Facebook Live on her phone, and she asks people she uses the phone to go around and asks people to tell her where things are.
Genius.
Wow, that's good.
Genius.
And I just thought, how bloody brilliant. And she says she's now got a whole load of regular people who tune into her when she goes live. And they talk about other topics, not just, I can't find the bicarbonate of soda or whatever it is she can't find.
Good. You know, and that's a fantastic way to use social media, because these poor people that are blind sitting there, all they can do is listen to a radio. Really. or read a Braille book and whatever. But I just think it's great using getting that, using social media. It's a great story for today. It's nice to hear that.
The interesting thing was at the end he asked her if there was one thing you used to be able to do before you lost your sight that you'd like to be able to do again. She said there's only one thing. She said, I'd like to be able to drive again.
You can take the metaphor, can't you? Just because when she goes out of the house, if she's got Facebook Live going, she can be guided by a crowdsourced set of eyes, for goodness sake. Well, that's genius.
I'll tell you.
It's genius.
One day, blind people will be able to sit in their own vehicle and say, take me to, and it'll drive them to it. That'll happen one day. Not in our time.
I think that in this particular instance, there was a combination of pleasure of her being able to drive, but also being able to take her children somewhere.
Yeah.
That gave her pleasure that she could take the children to wherever. But I just thought it was ingenious to, I can't find the bicarb. Oh, I'll get onto Facebook Live and camera around me kitchen.
Yeah. I know people up in my area, I don't know if they still do it, they've got a tandem. And they used to take blind people out in the tandem and put them in the back and cycle them about so they could feel it and describe what was there, etc. So it's good. Very good. Good story for today. My story for today is, how come you can get a better 4G reception in Peru than you can in the UK?
Well, that's because they have not had the previous level of infrastructure. So they've been able to put the money that we've done in progressive structures. So we started with, well, I can't think of the name of it now. And then we went on to H, then we went on to H+, then we went on to 3G, then we went on to 4G. So we've gone through, although 4G is called 4G, it's actually the 5th generation of mobile. Yeah. So they've not had those earlier level of investments that they've had to continue to maintain while making the future investments into things. So therefore, the money that we have to use to maintain the past has gone into into latest level investment, and therefore they've got better service than we have.
Well explained. How come in a city like Aberdeen, a place called King Street in Aberdeen, just off the main Union Street centre, I don't get a signal? What's that all about?
It's a local problem. Your buildings are made of granite, and they're impermeable to radio.
You're absolutely right. You're right. Granite is a problem for us, you know, the granite city. And it is. I think this is far about that woman because I put them okay. I can feel lazy and don't. Yeah, well done, that woman.
Is Mr. Healey there to tell us about the 4G situation in devices?
Yes, I am. 4G in devices is wonderful. It works. No problems at all.
Which supplier?
EE and the main ones. There's no problems at all. We're in a beautiful spot in Wiltshire, close to Stonehenge, close to Avebury and Salisbury. Beautiful place to be. Walking along the canal. Sorry, right, okay.
I have, oh, that's the wrong one. I have 4G from 2 suppliers.
Yeah.
And EE 4G appeared 18 months ago on the phone. I haven't got to hand, but I also have a MiFi, which is on 3.
Yeah.
And that only really happened in February of this year.
Right.
So different suppliers, different things. Now, and which is faster? The answer is depends which way the wind's blowing.
Okay. Now, there is an injustice this week that I do want to highlight. And I'm going to talk for a few minutes and then I'll swap people around again. But this is a crazy story and it comes from the athletics world. And the European Athletics Task Force apologises to GB athletes over world records. May I ask, have you heard of this?
I don't understand it, but I've heard something about it.
Right, okay. Basically, athletics, as we know, has been riddled with problems over the years in relation to drugs, just to give a background to this. And what they're trying to do is root out anybody who's taking performance-enhancing drugs. Now, the unfortunate thing is that they only have records going back to 2005, blood records going back to 2005. So the suggestion which has been made by the UK Athletics Association to a meeting in September is that all world records which were created prior to 2005 will no longer stand. So if you're a world record holder and you set it in the 90s or the 80s or the early 2000s, then your world record is gone. And the irony is that it may well pass to somebody who was barred for taking drugs just for a little while. So the likes of Steve Cram and who else do we know? Jonathan Edwards, Colin Jackson, Paula Radcliffe, all have world records going back to when they were at the prime, because Paula Radcliffe was in 2003. Colin Jackson, we know, 110-meter hurdles, and Jonathan was triple jumping and leading the world when he was in athletics, and now he leads it from the commentary box. So the records, obviously, if they go back, the times are still there. That's not a problem. But you cannot call themselves world record holders. Crazy.
And there's it doesn't affect just Europeans. Apparently, it affects some Americans as well who've set world records in Europe. And one of those has threatened to take it to the highest courts in the world if they strip him of his world record. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Isn't it?
The other thing to remember is it is only a proposal and could be turned down.
Are we allowed to say bull or other words beginning with B? Because it's just rubbish.
You mean bollocks, do you? Of course you can.
Utter bollocks. There you go. That's for the axe friend.
I would say it's an absolute disgrace. Imagine a swimmer that gets up at 4 in the morning, my mum and dad takes him swimming up and down that pool, up and down and up and down, not eating properly, win the fastest time to be told. You're not really, we don't know if you were a cheat or not, but we're just going to band you all together and say, you could have been a cheat, so you're not keeping it. An absolute disgrace. And see the people that run these committees, they really want to be vetted for their ideas. What a disgrace. What a slap in the face to our athletes.
You go, Pete.
Give them nothing. And when they want to use their name for future, you can so and get stuffed. I've never helped. If it was me, I'd say you'll get nothing from me. You'll get no support. In fact, I'll make sure that get you off the board if you come up with that. What a disgrace. What's this country coming to? You know?
It's not a country, is it? It's a European.
It's a pan-European thing. It's not a UK thing.
Ah, right. So would it happen in the UK and we're on?
Who knows?
Yeah.
So, well, these are world records, aren't they? You're talking about.
I think you'll find it's the International Athletics Federation, which is, I think, probably worldwide.
That's a right. Outfit.
There's got to be a brighter tale to talk about now, hasn't there?
To finish off, can I make a suggestion to them? Say, listen, we can't prove if you were or not. So keep your world records well done, but we'll make sure it doesn't happen again. That's how I would handle it. Finished.
I think Steve's trying to push us on to the fact that Facebook have just registered the 2 billionth user. Is that
all right? Okay.
Calling devices.
Oh, must have been from China.
Are they getting Facebook?
Well, now they have Weibo or something like that, don't they?
They don't allow Facebook in China.
No. What they got to hide? What they're scared of?
If you're serious, they're scared of westernization creeping into their culture, and they fear that
it's rolled in giantly over the last 20 years, hasn't it? Mm-hmm. I mean, look at all the entrepreneurs. Look at the you know, Chinese who've gone to Western universities.
Yeah. The haves and the have-nots, you know. I've actually met people that came from mainland China. They've got a shop and their daughter's married to a guy in Aberdeen, and they've got me being me. I thought in some areas they still wore that Maxi Tom uniforms, you know, the jackets and the hats. But the guy used to wear it. I says, "Oh yeah, my dad used to wear all that." You know, it was quite interesting. But they're very westernised now anyway. You know, there's the haves and have-nots. They've got their big cars and everything. Some of them are doing extremely well.
Well, you know, they own some pretty big Western names. MG, Rover, Volvo.
Yeah.
And I think they even own Saab these days, don't they?
Yeah. Watch it, my cousin, he's a teacher, and he jokingly says to his pupils, the language you need to learn is Chinese, because they're going to rule the world one day. So go and learn Chinese, okay? And he's got Chinese girls in the class. He has a laugh with them, and so that, yeah, quite interesting.
So Stephen used to have Stephen says he used to have Mao's little red book. So what did he do with it, Stephen? We need to know.
Yeah.
A journey of 1,000 miles starts. Sorry, John, did it again. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. You should. Basically, I was still at school at the time, and if you wrote to the Chinese embassy, this is back in this. Well, I'm not saying when it was. John's gone off now. You could write to the Chinese embassy and get a copy of Mao's little red book, which was full of the sayings of Chairman Mao. Mm-hmm. And there were basically epithets for everyday life to encourage people to do good works. And we still carry on the tradition today, because if you're an optimist, then some of the epithets still hold.
Doesn't that say his Mein Kampf, though?
I'm not promoting Chairman Mao. I'm just stating a fact.
No, I'm saying, in terms of the Little Red Book is synonymous with communism, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah. In fact, the Drifters made a song about it.
Indeed, they did. Yeah.
You're more than a red book. You're more than a one night stand. That's all I'm saying. You're allowed 10 seconds.
Maybe it was a sort of a regular Peter Singh spot.
Yeah. In terms of BeLive TV, this format is brilliant, and I don't know whether they're going to go to 4 on screen. That would be most helpful to us. Because you get a 3-second warning when you come in, you don't get a 3-second warning when you're going out, and people don't always keep an eye on.
Come back in. I don't know.
So I'm going to apologise for that, and I'm going to bring up. Well, I don't know. I'm going to bring back John, and that's only fair. So my apologies, John.
Dusty Bin. I just can't help it. Every time 3, 2, 1, I think of Dusty Bloody Bin.
Yeah.
I went to find mine. I too got my my little Chairman Mao, because I'm of the similar age to Stephen. And a little red book about that high, about that thick, in a plastic red cover, which was quite ingenious in those days, with a little red ribbon to mark the space. And I got it because I know it's in this room somewhere, but I can't find it.
You know how Stephen said about he got in touch with the Chinese embassy?
That's how I got mine. Exactly the same.
I was going to say that the other day I was just rifling through some papers, and I found a letter from 10 Downing Street to me. And it said, "Dear Stephen, thank you very much for your kind comments. The Prime Minister hopes you have a great whatever." And it was signed Tony Blair. I thought, oh Christ, because I remember writing him a letter when he won in '97. So I was very, very pleased at the time that he'd managed to, sorry Pete, kick the Tories out. But then when I saw the letter, I thought, Jesus, how he changed, and now how I despise now, you know. I just mentioned it because you mentioned the sort of Chinese embassy thing. But things we did when we were young.
I'll bet you Jeremy Corbyn's got one of his books, that little red book. I'm sure he has, you know.
What are you insinuating, Peter?
Hey, looking back, they reckoned that, what was it, Harold Wilson? They reckon he could have been a red.
A spy?
Under the bed.
Russian spy.
Yeah. There was a word of that, you know. But speaking about spying, I served in Berlin. Have you heard about the puzzle ladies? Do you know what they are? So when the wall came down, they went to the Stasi headquarters, the people, to try and get in. And inside, the Stasi were taking all the files and they were shredding them. So what they've got now is they've got people actually putting the files back together. And you can, yes, absolutely. And you can put, you can put your name into them. Even I could, because I served in Berlin. They might have some in me. And you can put your name in. It's about a 2-year waiting list. And you can go and look at your file. And the reason the German government didn't want to get it all too quick, there were a lot of spies in the West. And there were journalist spies, there were MP spies, there were military spies, all in the West. And in the East, you had brother informing on brother, wives informing on husbands. And I've got a friend here that when I told her about it, she went back and spoke to her mum. They were in the East, and she said, "Oh yes, I've been there." Really? She goes, "What did you find?" She says, "Well, I found out that I didn't go any further in my career because I still kept in touch with your granddad in the West." And she goes, "Well, what about my dad then?" She says, "Oh, he was an informer." and it's amazing. So I'm surprised. What I was doing my talk show one day is one of my ex-officers is actually a historian in Berlin, used to be a spy. And I'm going to get him to come on and talk about that. Would that interest you? About his life as a spy in Berlin. He speaks about it quite openly. His name's Nigel Dunkley. He can tell us so much. And that was a thing called Brixmas, where we were allowed to go into the West. But it's called, I've actually been to that Stasi headquarters, and it's walking into the 1970s. And everything was there. They had a hospital. And if you stop someone in the area now and say, "Excuse me, could you tell me where the Stasi headquarters are?" If the reply is, "There's no such thing," you know they used to be a member of the Stasi, if they're older. And all that area they lived. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
That whole thing about the Stasi, wasn't it Ceausescu in Romania?
Nicolae Ceausescu.
Yeah.
He was overturned by the public, wasn't he? At Christmas.
Yes. Christmas Day.
But again, the secret police had information about everybody, absolutely everybody.
Yeah, they were called the Securitati. That was the name of them.
But of course, that would never happen here.
You don't think MI5 and MI6 know anything about you, then? They've been studying all these Blabbing for Britons to find out all about you, Stephen. Yeah.
And I'll tell you something else. The story I heard about Ceausescu was that it all came to light because when they got satellite TV, they pointed it towards the West, and they started to pick up signals from the West and seeing the real world. And I've actually met people that were there in the time.
I'm just going to take a break for 2 minutes while Peter answers his phone and take the opportunity for Blabbing for Britain to go international for a moment. Hello, Alfredo.
Good morning, fellas.
Hi,
nice to see you. Can you just explain where you are? And
I'm actually located in California, USA, and I've been following your shows when I can. It's early morning here. It's about 2:44 a.m. right now.
Right. I've enjoyed watching your broadcast. Can you explain about the broadcast that you do on behalf of the church?
Well, I don't have regular shows as other people in live streaming community do, but what I do to help out is I help broadcast my church services on Sundays. The local church I broadcast is called Inglewood Southside Christian Church, and every Sunday I, broadcast their services when I can. Thank you, Tish, for.
Indeed. I mean, that's it.
We're right for nearly 3 o'clock in the morning, doesn't it?
Yeah. We're a closely connected community, which is very good. I mean, that's what BeLive has done. They've built a community around the service, and it means that we can all get together occasionally. But it's great that you actually enjoy watching the show. We enjoy doing it. I mean, this is our 75th week, and we started back in the days of Blab, around about a long time ago, John. Yeah.
About 76 weeks ago, because we've had 2 weeks off. When you buggered off on holiday.
Well, it's just forewarning then. I'm going on holiday in August for 2 weeks, and I won't have Wi-Fi, so I won't have internet. But that's a way off.
It's 75 episodes. It's not every day you do a show. It's every
once a week.
Every week, 10 a.m. GMT, 5 a.m. Eastern. Yeah. And we've been doing it for 75 weeks, and it started up with John and I, but for the last, I don't know how long, it's been 4 of us, and we just enjoy getting together.
45, 48 weeks, something like that. That's been 4.
Okay. Yeah. Alfredo, great to see you, and
thank you.
I'll see you again soon.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.
Are you in a different room, Stephen?
It's great to put a face to the name. Me?
Yeah.
Why?
We never normally see a set of shelves in the top right-hand corner. I know it's a stupid question.
Now listen, I never met Alfredo there. Where's he from?
California.
California, right. Now listen, he says, thanks for having me on the show. I feel special. Do you know, I feel like that every week.
You are special.
Hey, listen, let's have a poll.
I guess I said something to get me on board.
Would you miss me if I go away? Let's have a poll on the Facebook page.
Oh, I
we miss that singing. It could be wonderful.
Where about in California from?
Southern California, in the city of Hawthorne.
Is that near Berkeley University?
I'm not quite sure where Berkeley University is.
All right,
exactly.
okay. Well, I'm going to go there at the moment.
There's several universities around here, but
right.
As far as the ones that are closest, I'm not quite sure yet.
What? Oh, can't hear you. John. I can't hear John. Can you still hear me, Alfredo?
No, I can't hear John either.
So we can't hear John. Can't hear John. Right. So what do you do over there, Alfredo?
I'm a software developer by trade.
Okay.
I work at a company called Advent Resources, and one of the functions I do for them is I'm a reports developer.
Okay, very good. And are you using Wi-Fi?
My connection is, I think, 3 megs down and 1 meg up.
All right, okay, wow. See, thought California would be better than that. Anyway,
yeah, there's a lot more people that have a higher bandwidth, but I tend to go to the lower bandwidth because it's a lot cheaper for us.
Okay, yes, fair enough. No problem at all. How did you find us?
I've been following Steve and Healey since the beginning of Blab, for example, when you guys were Blabbing for Britain back then.
All right.
And I've kept up with the show when I'm able to catch it live or watch the replays. So that's how I was able to find you guys.
Very good. Right.
Alfredo, you mentioned that you're a reports.
Yeah, I'm a reports developer. We actually code in a Linux environment. So, and the the databases are mostly either Postgres or MySQL.
And what's a typical report that you would generate for your customers? What?
There's three generic areas we print reports on. We either print reports on sales, we print reports involving inventory, or print reports involving either customers or prospects.
Are you competing with the likes of Salesforce then, CRM?
Well, the industry we're in is actually the dealer management systems. So the car dealership software is what we tend to focus on.
That's cool. I mean, I do I call them screens of joy, but it's just a data capture and then, doing data visualization pieces at the end. It sounds a similar thing to what you're up to. So again, Blab just shows that this blabbing thing just shows that you meet people. They are screens of joy. You meet people from all over the world, and obviously meet people in your own area. I mean, it's a fascinating community that we're growing here, and it can only get more useful to us. There's a group. I don't know if you have a similar thing over there, but there's a website called Meetup.com, and basically you create a meetup with people with like minds and same interests. There's one in Stoke tonight. I live in a place called Stoke-on-Trent, which is absolutely smack bang in the middle of Manchester and Birmingham in the UK. And there's our first event is tonight, and we're talking about things like IoT and getting information from millions of sensors that are out there, and it's just another example of communities of people who get together and talk, and we can try and move that model to the live broadcasting as well. So I'm going to try and stream it live. So and what gets you up at quarter to? Have you been to bed yet, or are you up dead early, or what?
I was asleep, and then I had to decide to get up and kind of test some things. I can't get my encoder to work on my laptop, so I gotta see if it's either the platform or the encoder itself.
Steven, do you develop like that, getting up at 4:45 in the morning?
No.
No.
That's way too early for me. I do remember you go to bed with a problem and you wake up with a solution in the morning. That's the way I prefer.
Okay.
Anyway, Alfredo, thank you for joining us, and take care. I'm going to see you again soon as I bring Jon back.
Sure.
And we start to wrap up because we've been going nearly for an hour. And Jon is back, and I'll bring Peter back in a moment. Yeah,
he's gone off somewhere. So
he's back now. He's back now. Can you, when you're actually in the lobby, can you see other people in the lobby? No. Okay. No. So when I drop off screen,
we don't see you at all.
Right. Okay. Right. Now then. So how do we wrap up this show? I'll bring Peter back in a moment.
We've still got 7 minutes left.
No, I'm I was trying to sort of lead towards an upbeat moment. Has anybody got any upbeat stories that we can discuss for the next few minutes? I know Peter will have one up his sleeve, so I'll bring Peter back.
You know that glass in the door behind you, Stephen?
Yeah.
My mum and dad had that in the bathroom, in the kitchen, in the door, in the hallway.
Oh, yeah.
I saw you there the first time, I thought, Mum and Dad's house.
Are you saying Stephen's old?
No.
No, it's one of those things that's come back into fashion, isn't it?
No.
I remember
glass.
Sue hates it, and it'll go. Eventually, it'll be replaced with. We've got leaded lights as well. You know, the windows, and I hate them. So
yeah, they're really back into fashion. Leaded lights are.
Are they? Not in this house, they aren't.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Bloody horrible.
And the double glazing salesmen love them because they just get a standard glazing, just stick run a lead on the outside.
Yeah, great. But no, we didn't buy them. They were in the house when we got it about 16 years ago. So it's not a fashion statement for me. Although I am very contemporary in my fashion, as you can tell.
Okay, I've got something that I'll bring up. Coincidences. I've had quite a few in my life, but I had a call during the show, and a lady said to me, "Do you still do what you do?" And I went, "Yes, I still do that. I kept your number on the phone, my pest control." And it was unbelievable. I says, "Funny. I met your husband on Friday night." And this is from years ago. She says, "That's interesting, because he's not my husband anymore." So I met him on Friday night. And then she calls today to get a job done in her new house. Now, I thought that is a coincidence. And one other coincidence I'll tell you about. Out in the country, before the days of mobile phones, we had to go to a thing called a phone box. That's a red thing away out in the country. And
Funny enough, I remember those.
And yes. And this is for our younger viewers. And I was away out in the country, and with the phone were service office. And I gave a call. They gave me the address that I needed to go to next. I came out of the phone box, went to the house next to it and knocked the door and said, "I'm here to do pest control." She nearly fainted. She says, "But I just phoned in," and it was the phone box right next to the house I was going to. So that is a coincidence for you.
That's not coincidence. That's pre-planned by someone up there.
Unbelievable. So what I'd like to finish off, because I'm going to go now, I'd like to say that we're all made up of Irishmen, Welshmen, Scotsmen, Englishmen, and no matter who you vote for today, we will always be a great country. So enjoy your day, and we've got to stick together no matter what outcome we have.
And vote that woman in Scotland out.
we Bernie, get rid of her. I'll have to go because Norman Wisdom's in now, okay? Take care.
Take care, Pete. See you soon.
Say hello to Willie.
Right, I think Pete and Steve might want to close us down gracefully now.
Yeah, I think gracefully will do. Thank you, Peter, that was a good note to end on.
I'm going to try and join you on different technology next week.
All right, what are you going to try and do?
I bought a new toy.
An HP what?
It's a 17-inch laptop. With a high-res screen.
Yep.
But it's more powerful than my desktop. So I'm really looking forward to giving it a go. It's got a 77,100 quad-core, 16 gig of memory, you name it, it's all in there.
Well, in spirit of experimenting next week, Stephen's joined us by iPad. I'm going to join us by Android tablet. Not today, Stephen. I'm speaking about in the past. I'm going to come in on the Android tablet, and we'll see how that goes.
I hope it goes better than my experiment with it, I'm afraid.
I tried that last week.
I tried it to watch Be Live on my Android tablet, and it was hopeless, to put it bluntly.
On the app?
Yeah.
It crashed. It just kept on crashing.
Correct.
All right, okay. Well, let's put it to the test then, again.
I'll do it.
Right, so let's just remind ourselves, we've gone through, would you fire a nuclear missile? We've got no aircraft carriers. Prince Philip is stepping down from royal engagements. One we didn't get to, if you've any old fivers, you've got to get rid of them this week.
This week? Right.
Yeah.
Or another 8 weeks at the bank after this week.
We think that the European athletics or Arab athletics bodies are slightly, well, I'm not going to say the word, but there are words. Facebook nears 2 billion users, which is 25% of the world's population. And both John and I used to have Mao's little red book, and we wrote to the Chinese embassy to get our copy. And finally, thank you for joining us, Alfredo. And I still love the name Screens of Joy. So,
that's you. Right. See you soon then, guys.
Yep. Thank you for watching, everybody. We look forward to seeing you at 10 o'clock next Thursday for another episode of Blabbing for Britain. Have a good night's sleep, Alfredo. Hope the problem gets solved soon. And Tish, thank you. And Corinda, thank you. To everybody else who's watched, we wish you a great week. Don't forget to vote today if you can. And we'll see you next Thursday.